I was thinking about something, and I had someone to call me and ask me truly what it is that you believe about creation. And that was kind of touching to me because let me break it down for you. A lot of us, as Christians, we tend to think that we have the only um, true God. And it's crazy because how can you say you have the only true God when it's a whole world before your eyes? Like, you can't say that because of the fact that you were taught to believe that your God is real when somebody else in their religion is either as happy as you, or if not happier. And it's crazy because let's say this. What if you was to make it to heaven and God says, "Who am I?" And you say, "Oh God, you're Jesus Christ." And he say, "Who told you that?" And he's nothing like you thought he was gonna be, or you was told that he was gonna be. He's a sound and a bright light. He's a sound, a deep voice, and the brightest light you ever seen before. And you standing there before him. And who told you that? And you say, "Well, God, you was in this book, the Bible, and you were there, your name Jesus Christ. Psalms 83:18 said your name was Jehovah in that, and you were the Trinity, Father. You were the Holy Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." He was like, "Okay, well, let me ask you something. Who is Will Smith?" And you say, "Oh, Will Smith, God, that's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air." Then you say, "Okay, well, who is his wife?" "Oh, his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith." "Who is his kids?" "Oh, his kids is Trey Smith, Willow Smith, and Jaden Smith." "Okay, what movie did he play in?" And you be like, "Oh, he played in Bad Boys, Pursuit of Happiness. He played in Hancock. He played in," and you get to name all the movies that Will Smith played in. And you be like, "Well, what was his name in those movies?" "Well, in Bad Boys, his name was Marcus. In Will Smith, in First Prince of Bel-Air, he was Master William. And in Hancock, he was Hancock. In Pursuit of Happiness, he was such and such." And you get to name his names in those movies. And then you say, "What book he wrote?" "Oh, he wrote the autobiography of Will Smith." Then he say, "Well, when it came to Will Smith and the person that you could see, you went all out to understand everything that he was made of and everything that he was about. You watched all his movies, read all his books, you know everything about him. But when it came to me, who is greater than all creation, you stopped at one thing, and that was the Bible. Did you look in the Quran?" "I was there." "Did you look in the Bhagavad Gita?" I was there. Did you understand the Chinese text and literature? I was there. Did you look in the Mormon Bible? They spoke about me. I was there. Did you understand why the Jainism believe in all religions? Because I was there. But when it came to one thing, when it came to your faith, you stopped at one thing, and I was there. You don't know who I am. I said, if you want the knowledge, to seek the source. But yet, study to show yourself approval. You only study the Bible, and therefore you only became approval to the Christians. How could you teach my word or the message of my son if the Christians already know him? People in other religions don't know me or don't understand the message. See, many messengers were called to deliver the message of Christ or the message of the Father, but only one chose to die for your sins. See, the other messengers, they had the message, but they delivered the message in the form of hate, or they wasn't going to carry it out. They still had that selfishness in their heart. But Christ did it through love, understanding, compassion. And even though he knew that his circle of people, his disciples, were going to fail him, Simon would deny him, Judas would betray him, Judas would even lead him to his death, and he will carry that cross to Calvary. And yet alone, him being Christ, he could have asked the Father, I don't want to carry out this message. They're going to kill me. But yet alone, he chose to carry out that message, stand firm in his belief, and even on the cross, when they was about to condemn him, take him out, he looked in the sky and said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. See, many times he placed you before himself. It was the love of it. And that message teaches you is that around you are people that's going to backstab you, and you know it. Are people that's going to hurt you, and you know it. Are friends that's going to deny you, you know it. And people that are going to lead you to your death, and you know it. But you have to love them as you love me. See, God gave us Christ, the messenger, so we could see what love was like in the presence of our enemies and follow that principle so we can understand what he was trying to show you. Christ was trying to say, if you believe in me like I believe in the Father, that all these miraculous miracles that you see me perform, then you too could do these things. See, we as Christians tend to stay focused on the things that Christ did. Oh, he rose on Sunday. Oh, he got up and he died on whenever he died. His birthday is Christmas. But we don't preach the message of love enough. See, you can talk about what he did all day, but he had a message. See, you have to believe in the love. That's the message. Do everything through love. See, you cannot find the Father in the presence of negativity. That's a fact. You have to remove the presence of negativity away from you. And you have to choose to look at every negative situation positive. I know that's hard. That's hard. But in life, God gave you what? The freedom of choice. That's what he gave you, the freedom of choice. And in life, you can only do two things. You can either look at things positive or negative. See, one thing about it is, you can't take a negative and a positive and get a positive outcome. Just won't work. But I know if you take two positive people, you can get a positive outcome. You can take two negative people and get a positive outcome, because sometimes they can agree. But you have to think about it. You have to pray about it. Lean not on your own understanding. You have to find the Creator that's within you. See, in life, we have one purpose. And that purpose is to get from point A to point B. And the truth is, when you're at point A, you can't get to point B. Why? Because you got all these obstacles that you got to climb before your day restart. You start at point A, you wake up, and these are your tasks. How can you get to point A? How can you get to point B if you have to climb over all these obstacles every day? That's your journey. You wake up, get up, you go live your life, you brush your teeth, you take care of your kids, you live your marriage, you get up, you next thing you know, you go to work, and you work for the man, you do whatever you're going to take to, try to find whoever it is. Then next thing you know, you get in your car, you're on the way to work, you make it there, you get there, and you work your whole full day, and then after you get off work, you try to go grab you something to eat, and by that time, it's time for you to go to bed. So, therefore, you start back over because there's only 24 hours in a day. You have to figure out how to get there. So, the truth be told, you can't get there. You never will, not going through them obstacles. So how can you get to point B if you got tasks every day? You have to bring point B to you. See, when you wake up in the morning, we always try to go out into this world and find God in a place that he would never exist. You try to find God into this world. You go out here and you try to look for him in a place that he would never be. And you fail to find him when you was at home alone. So you have to, while you at home, pray. When you wake up, acknowledge the Creator. That's your B. You got to find the Creator. Acknowledge the Creator. And you brought him to you. Therefore, when you go through your task, you take the Creator with you. That's how you find the Creator. You get that understanding. You wake up, you meditate, you exercise. See, first you wake up, you acknowledge Creator. You exercise, therefore you work on you, and then you carry that Creator with you. And everything throughout your day is going to be positive and productive because of the fact that you chose to find him at home instead of go out here into this world and try to find him. See, the truth is, he said, never will I leave you nor forsake you. Therefore, he's in the presence of your heart. And you have to meditate. You want peace, be still. You have to meditate. Seek it and you shall find. That's why we go to church sometime and we go to seek for the Holy Spirit. Because of the fact that that's the only time we can find God is when we fellowship quietly. For real. And he will reach you in the form of meditation. Why you think Moses went on top of that mountain for 40 days and fast? Because all those negative things around him, he couldn't find them. Not with all that negativity. He went up there, he fasted. Why you think the yogis and they teach go to the top of the mountains, many of them, and fast and come back more holier than thou? Because of they go up there to delete negativity and find them. And that's how you have to find him. You have to delete the negativity around you. You have to. You have to. And it's going to hurt of some of the people you're going to delete. It's going to hurt from most of the obstacles that you're going to climb. But your day will be so productive. And the truth is, let's break this down. Have you ever noticed how why did he place 6 billion people in front of you? Because that journey was going to be hard. You was never going to go out there in this world and find peace or find anything that can make you happy. No human is going to make you happy. You can think you found your soulmate, but nobody in your life is going to make you happy if you can't find yourself. That's the purpose. To find the creator. Where the creator is in you. The creator is in you. That's why you wasn't born with a mirror attached to you. And the only time you can see yourself is what? In still waters. Or from a man-created mirror. Because think about it. If you were born somewhere else besides America or China or places where they don't have the resources, or the places where you couldn't read or understand the language, you don't have language, who is your creator? How do you think that they find the creator if they don't know the word Jesus or they don't know the message? How did the people before the New Testament or the Old Testament or anything that was able to be written, because ink didn't exist back in them days, they made it? How did they find the creator? Who were they, God? How did he reach them? Ask yourself that. How did he reach them? We sit here and we learn from literature and text from other people. Lean not on your own understanding. We go to the simplest Bible where that we can understand. Because of it's broken down. And we don't want to do the work for ourselves anymore. We want somebody else to do the work for us. And the truth be told, if you can go out there and you can work out and not get your muscles, hey, guess what? I'll praise you all day. You go out there, you can do the work, and I get your results, I'll praise you all day. And the truth be told, it's never going to happen like that. You're never going to get somebody else's results. And that's sad, but true. But stop looking for people to answer your problems when the problem is truly inside of you. You have to dig deep to find out who the creator is. Let me ask you a question. What if you found out that the more you pray, nobody ever heard you? Would you be upset to know that when you prayed and you looked out there, you prayed to the sky in the ascended heavens that you heard of from your book that somebody wrote for you? Would you be afraid or mad to know that God never heard your prayers? He never answered you. But it was only when you dug deep inside of you, when you was at your lowest, that you dug deep. You, God, please help me. Help me, God. Help me, please. And then all of a sudden, you felt this. And you got up. I'm never going to go this way again. You stand up. Because when you at your lowest, they say you got to hit rock bottom. I'm never going to go this way again. I'm never going to feel like this again. And you find the courage. You find the strength to get up, keep going, and walk. See, one thing, let me tell you something. You have to find yourself. You have to. In order to reach the Creator. And that's the truth. Yes, He created you, but He created all things. He's bigger than the universe. He's bigger than what you say. He said, live in this world, but don't be of this world, right? But yet, you're so focused on this world that you're living in it. And you're of it. But you're not finding who you are because you of it. Live in it, but find yourself. And when you find yourself in the presence of all negativity and the presence of everything else, see, once you find yourself, then you can face this world. You can face this negativity. But you don't have the tools. You don't have the tools. You're not equipped yet. Let me ask you something. You're faithful Christians. You're faithful whoever's. How much do you truly love God? Do you love Him enough to just give it all up and start over and recreate yourself? Do you really love Him? If He came down today, would you even know who He is? You were placed, from the time you were born, they placed the image before you of what it's supposed to look like. Man. They placed a man before you. And what he looked like? Well, that same energy that lives inside of you, lives inside of everything. The spirit. And every species in this world does the exact same thing that you do, from the ant to the elephant to the most gigantic animal in the world, I guess. And they think just like you. They build just like you. And they are creators just like you. And if you look at their journeys, they take care of their young. Just like you. Even the plant. Even the plant. If you cut a tree, it will bleed. It will leave a scar on that tree. And if you cut it deep enough, it will die. And that plant, the plant, let me tell you something about the plant. Let me tell you something about that plant real fast. If you ever want to know how the world was created, think about the plant. think about that plant. Because of, I want you to think about that plant because of, I could take you inside of Walmart right now to the garden aisle, right? And take you to a seed, right? Boom. Let me tell you about the seed. See, I could take you to that seed and we can go find a seed that was dead for like 5 years, right? We could take that seed, bring it home, put it into the ground, add some water onto it, and guess what's going to happen when that sun hit it? Ooh, child. When that sun hit it, that's when it sprouts up. So let's talk about this plant. All my gardeners, we know that when night falls, the plant slump over. It's a plant now. But when the morning come and it rise, that plant come up and spread its arms up. And it reach for the heavens, it reach for the stars. Okay, now think about that. If the plant symbolizes life, and when if the plant comes up and it raises its arm up every time that sun come out, then think about this. When it go down darkness, it comes down. But every morning it comes up, it praises Him. The sun now. The sun. You know that every species, most of them, that's pure-heartedly. The early bird gets up, go out there, build its home, build its nest, build its creation, come back, feed its young. And does the same thing that the ant does. Build a nest, build an ant bed, and think about this. Worship the queen. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's deep. But if you notice, with every species, they all do the same thing. So let me ask you something. Since all species, even from the lion, they worship their queen. The gorilla, they worship their queen. Man change things. That's just the truth. They change things. So if the world is made in that manner, but we say in our species that the queen have to worship the king. See, it don't work like that. You can't take a bunch of men and put them into one place and think that you're going to get positivity. Nope. But you could take a bunch of thugs and give that thug a wife and it'll change his life. Oh man, see, we try to, but we want to be so dominant. We want to be so dominant. We want to be so right. Think about that one before you're around here thinking that you're like more stronger than your woman. Nah, that ain't true. But back to the species, the trees, and you place that seed in the ground and it start growing up. One seed. And that seed, without nothing around, starts to multiply. Think about that. Just one seed, put it in the ground, put a little water on it, let the sun raise it, and next thing you know, over time, that seed starts to multiply. How is that possible? And then, when that female seed finally find the male seed, that's when you start seeing beautiful flowers come from it. Think about that one. Okay. As well as when you think about every species that does the exact same thing that you, ask yourself this. if they think like me, they do the exact same thing that I do. Well, who is God to them? Who do they think that God is in? With the birds, who is teaching every bird in the sky to fly in the same manner? You see birds, they shoo, 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 all of them. Who was the leader of that? That ant. Who told that ant where the food was? Over there under my patio. And now we got a whole trail of ants. Who led the pack? The herd. Who told that herd in which way to travel? You ever notice how you could barely find one bird flying without a couple more birds? It was that bird or that ant that started walking alone that discovered something and came back. See, when you walk alone, you can discover something. When you leave the pack, it's crazy, ain't it? When you walk alone, you can discover something and bring it back to the pack. But long as you within that pack, you will never discover it. You will never discover it. And as long as you keep staying into the circle of everybody else, you will never discover you. This life is a generation of curse. You were taught to live in the fear of your ancestors. Your religion is based off of the religion of your ancestors. So you keep living within the past, within the past, within the past. Fears. If you notice one thing about your life, DNA can't change, right? You look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody. You look like your granddaddy that looked like his granddaddy. What, 100 years ago? And since DNA don't change, you look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody. And it's going to keep going back in that same order. Keep going back. So if you're going to keep looking like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody who look like somebody, how could it start? How could the world just start with two people? See, you were told so many things. Because if I tell you what it is, you would never find it for yourself. So if you look like somebody who looked like somebody, and you take it all the way back a million years ago, you have to ask yourself, if the world started with two people, who was the first two plants? Who was the first two fish? You think that as a man we could create fish that's underwater? Seeds, we can create a whole tradition. We can create the species that's almost bigger than species. The underground water kingdom is bigger than the human race, period. It is. You think that we as people could create that? Who was the first two chickens, ants, birds, gorillas, elephant, dinosaurs? Let's keep going. Who were the first two of anything? But the world started with two people. See, let me tell you something. when they explain to you, you have to look at life in the form of a tree. The tree of life. Why? Because that's exactly what happened. Look at the sun. Look at all the elements. Look at the planets around. You think those planets scattered out for millions of years exist for nothing? Man, do the research real fast. All you have to do is look at the sun, look at the elements on Earth. Look at the elements that make up the Earth. Look at the elements that make up Jupiter. Look how close Mercury is. Look at the elements that make up Venus. Look at the elements that make up Uranus, Pluto, Mars. Look at those elements. I have the chart. I've seen them. Look at those elements. And look at, they're made up of, those planets are made up of mostly a certain element. And they're stretched out for millions of miles because of a reason. Think about it. And the truth is, when you look at it like this, and you think about it, and you look at Earth, and how Earth was formed, you have to think about the sun. Because everything surrounds the sun. And as people, we say that in space, right? In space, it is dark in space, right? It's cold in space, right? Now, without that sun, if you remove the sun from our existence, everything dies. That's the truth. Take away the sun, everything freezes over, everything is dark. Everything is dark, completely dark. Nothing exists. Why? Because there is no light. No light. So they say, they get out there, they say, oh, in space, there's no oxygen. Who told you that? The sun is extremely hot. That is fire all day. Look at the triad of fire. The triad is like a triangle. Fire can't run without oxygen. So yes, it is oxygen in space. It's just with the sun. Look at fire. Look at how fire is fire. Think about it. Heat rises. Cool. And if you look at a fire, oxygen. Everything keeps circling. You start a fire. Go start you a fire outside. You won't get that fire to light if it ain't no wind blowing. You know, you put a fire in a bowl of those little cheap George Foreman grills, you'll never get that thing to light unless you lift it up a little bit and let that go under it. That oxygen. So in space, yes, it is oxygen. It's just with the sun. That's something you will never be able to reach. You can't even look at the sun. Better think about that one. Think about that one. You can't even look at the sun. But that's how the world is going. It's circling the sun. Think about that. It's circling the sun. And those elements around it, those planets, make up the earth. So, like it says, out of darkness comes what? Light. What is the brightest light? The sun. Now, see, the earth was quiet, dark, nothing. And see, the Bible even tells you in this literature, and in probably in other scriptures, it tells you out of darkness came light. What is light? Heat. So when it's cold, when it's dark, with no heat, it's cold. It's cold, very cold. It's the temperature in space is like negative 400 degrees. Look at every element and how cold it get. Oxygen, I deliver oxygen and nitrogen, and you are made up of 70-some% oxygen, 20-some% nitrogen. No, 70-some% nitrogen, 20-some% oxygen. And the rest of the other elements that's on the periodic table, that's what you're made of. So, when you think about how you are made of that, and the earth is made of that, and what the sun is. So if the sun is out there and it's dark, and all of a sudden, light come into form. That dark, and out of darkness came light, and then that light in a dark space out there in the galaxy, out there in the universe. What happens when that light finally became heat was formed out there in darkness? Now ask yourself this. Since heat was formed out there in darkness, what happened? When you place light in the dark, now you got heat. Because light is heat. We can see that from the sun. If you take cold and you take hot, what does it create? Like moisture. You can take a regular window that's cold, take a little bit of heat that's hot, and what? Create water almost from the moisture. It steams up, and then you see the little water come down. So that means out of nothing but cold and hot form water. What is water? H2O, hydrogen, carbon, oxygen. So while that's forming, that light is getting brighter, brighter, brighter. All of a sudden, that bright light, in order to survive out there into this dark place, it has to take form. It has to take form. So now that it's taking form, it's getting hot. It's boiling. It's boiling. It's extremely hot. It gets hot. The water form around it. It form a crust. Still got to shine through that crust. Get hotter. Get hotter. Because in order to run this universe, you have to be one of the strongest energies, period. Now that the sun is formed, it's forming, it's study forming, boiling. What is light? Well, we know one thing. If you shine light, everything has a ray. A light, what is a ray? A ray is a path in which light travels. And we know you can have a light like a circle, but that light could shine only so far. It can't cover everything no matter what. So it shines. And within that path, so my head, let's say my head is the light. So within that path, you see in the way in which I shine. And everything that is not within that path is what? Out of my ray. You know what I'm saying? So everything that's around, that's not in that path, is still what? Cold. So I can only heat up the things that are in my path. So I have to keep it coming. I'm the sun. I have to bring everything to me. And the things that was created, water around the sun, that came to start forming droplets. Water is constantly, so water is forming out there, and what's happening? That it's like that it's inside. That water is dropping, and then every time it fall out of that ray, what it does, it freezes up It freezes up and it fall into an endless space because what? It's in space. And it moves. So when you looking out there at the stars, it's just like what? The sun. But it has moved out of that ray because it fell from the sun. It fell. And some of those droplets that form kept on doing the same thing. So if you notice how strong the sun is, and you notice how hot the sun is, think about how the sun is shaped like a circle. And they say the circle of life. Think about the circle. Why? Because you take a complete circle and bring it back around. And it's endless. It's endless. Look at every shape of every, if you look out there at every shape, every planet, it has that same structure of a complete circle. A complete circle. And in every planet, there's a what? Volcano. Why? Why? Because what? That is the core principle of the sun. It's the heat. Even the core of this world has what? That structural sun inside of it. That's why it's lava, baby. It has the lava. That structure, it has the sun in it. Even this earth has the sun in it. When you look out there at Jupiter, it got volcanoes and it has lava and it got what? The sun in it. But they have to dig deeper inside of the core principles to find what? The sun in it. You ever ask yourself why when the earth bleed with the volcanoes that shoot up and all of a sudden the lava was red and it runs, it bleeds. Then when it dries up, it stops bleeding, it forms a scalp. Yet then you have to ask yourself, who are you? See, from dust you come from dust you shall return. You come from the ground. When God created this world from how the sun was formed and those planets were formed, it formed the earth. And the core principle of the earth is that piece of the sun that fell out of the ray, formed a scalp, and allowed the other planets that were still forming to create gases to form the earth. Look at the earth in its elements. It's made up of every planet and their elements. But they're so far because you can't place a certain amount of element in a it's only going to be allowed to have a certain amount of elements to create creation. And when the earth was formed, God what? Seeded the world. He seeded the world. He seeded the world. Some of those seeds hit the ground, form a trees, form life, grass. And guess what? Some of those seeds hit the water, created tadpoles, and tadpoles came from what? Fish, all different type of species. And when the seeds, he seeded the world and it hit the ground, what sprouted up? Trees, He moved the moment. He moved the world. Mountains. He moved the world. You came up. People, chickens, birds, elephants. Why? Let me tell you why. This the sun. This what the sun is doing for you. All that stuff came from the ground. Let me tell you how you know. You ever wonder why when you bleed, it's red. Just like that volcano. Just like the sun. It's red. Red, you bleed in the same thing that the sun has created. You bleed in that same blood, that same energy. The same thing that's inside of you exists in everything else. That's why when animals bleed, it's red. And as it bleed, what happens? It forms a scalp, just like that lava. You have to ask yourself, man can create these things. But see, have you ever noticed that? Let me break this down. 4,000 feet or almost half all the miles you can go down to the deeps of the ocean, right? What do you find? Bring it up. Planet, plantos, creation, things that you didn't even know that existed in dark. In the dark. Things that man can create. Organisms. We can't create that, but it's living in, and it just need to be rose up. It's living. It's living. We can't create that. We can't create organism. We can't create that. But see, when God seeded this world, that's just what happened. He seeded it. And if you go down deep enough, which you can never reach the depths of it, it's supposed to be the core. Now, if you notice with the core and a complete circle, there are layers. And since a circle is infinite, as you take a circle, right? And you draw a circle within a circle within a circle. As you notice that every time a layer is removed, a layer forms. It's crazy. It just go to show you, every time you take a piece of your skin, you peel it off, it comes back. Sometimes if you cut it too deep, you can't get it back. It's like a tree. You can take a piece of it, cut it off, and it'll grow back. You know, this message goes deeper than what you think. But see, that's what it was intended to do. Because what if you reading a book and the people that did not understand what the voice of the universe was telling them, but they was trying to write it down? Because if you meditate and you seek the spirit, he's gonna tell you what it is that you need to know, but you can never learn everything. But you could learn how to find it. And over time, people were looking. But when you stop looking, it's when you find it. What if the people that wrote these books and tried to modify and tried to figure out what the creator was saying didn't understand when it said the sun, right? And they didn't understand it. They didn't understand it. And they was like, Okay, so the Son created us, and then they were like, yeah, the Son created you. And that's the understanding, but you were like, that's my son. So you don't want to accept the fact that the Son created you. So you start looking at you. No, you are a human. So that's your son. You're the father, and that's your son. And I think that a man created it, and the man was with it. What if the son? And they didn't get it, and they were trying to figure it out when they interpret the language of the people from the beginning of time. And they were like, no, they can't be talking about the son. They can't be talking about the son. They talk about humans. They don't want to accept the fact that the son was the reason for it all. Rise in the east, set in the west. And it rose again. They saw it ascended to the heavens. All the metaphoric symbolic, things, symbolic terms. 88 Bibles, 66 simplified. Take away 22. Can't deliver the full truth. Listen to what I tell you. Keep you scattered out. Make you think that your religion is better than his religion. Or if you take a sun, right? Let's draw lines around the sun. Draw a sun. Put the lines around it. And you take every religion in the world, and you say Jainism, Hinduism, Babylon, Oniism, Mormon, Islam, Christianity. You know where I'm going? And you write the words around it. Now you know how to find the truth as a whole. Because believe it or not, the other religions, they find peace as well. Because of the fact that we are so close-minded as people, we can't discover the truth because of the fear and unrealized fear that people have placed before our eyes and people have placed before our lives. And over time, we just became lost and confused. And we take Bibles that tell you not to remove content. Remove the content. Take Bibles that say lean not on your own understanding. And we simplify the Bibles. We give you our understanding, and we preach the message to people that just don't understand it, but they need a simpler way. So we don't understand it, and we need help. We need guidance. We need somebody to tell us something that the answer is truly within us. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you were taught wrong. And it's sad because it's all we ever know. It's all we will ever understand because our parents taught us this. Their parents taught them that. Their parents taught them that. And it all was created from somebody understanding. But until you understand yourself, you can never understand others until you stop asking people to walk your journey. Till you walk alone, till you pray, till you meditate, you will forever be lost. But I pray that within this message, which it took me forever to create, y'all, it took me years. It took me years of study. It took me years of studying. But everything has a time, guys. Everything has a time, and it's time out for everything. Sit down. Stop looking for people to figure things out for you. God is in us. He's not up there. He's not in the heavens. He's not. The heaven is truly when you discover who you are. See, if you go out and you study to show yourself approval and you look at all the other religions and you have to delete, now when I tell you that, to look at other religions, let me break it down for you. Religions were created to just control the population, give them rules, receive personal agendas. And the truth be told, God gave you free will. Like he gave everybody else, every species, everything else. He gave you free will. So you have to know how to discover the word within those religions.